I've always admired the people who could effortlessly command a room or the internet with how they're able to just captivate an audience.
So she's going to transform her own butt. Like, which department am I supposed to send her to?
Nancy, I was in rock bottom.
You're going to call me a what? And she said, I'm going to call you a storyteller. A storyteller. Storyteller.
One thing I've noticed that all of them can do well was tell a damn good story.
The storytelling component was something that I really worked hard on.
Now, this actually used to give me so much anxiety because I felt, and still actually feel, that I cannot be this magnetic, charismatic, alluring orator. In fact, growing up, all I got was actually the world telling me that my storytelling skills are actual crap. Every time I told a story, I would get nervous before I started because I wouldn't know exactly where to start. Like, do I start at the beginning and then build up slowly, or do I drop people in the middle of the action and then backtrack and explain how we got there? Like, in what order do I tell this in? And if on the rare occasion I'm feeling empowered enough to tell this story and I'm feeling myself and I'm like, she's ready, let it rip, I am met with complete embarrassment because midway I start to realize that I'm just not telling this story right. I can see people are getting lost, people are getting bored, my confidence is dipping, and then you have that moment where you start fading out a little bit. And if you just so happen to be telling the story to someone who has just no courtesy, usually they completely cut you off, get distracted, change the subject, and you're just kind of left standing there like, bro, why do you gotta make me feel like a fool? Why? So anyways, all of this just started compounding, and I started to accept that, yeah, I'm just not good at storytelling. But that is the issue. From studying the space, I started to see that info, tips, words, principles, knowledge doesn't move people anymore. The issue is not that people do not have enough information or knowledge or even content. The issue is that people are actually overwhelmed with it. And so I started to realize that if I'm serious about wanting to build a brand in today's online economy, it's not about creating content to create content. It's not about sharing your thoughts to share your thoughts. You need to be the person to make it really click into people's heads. Make them feel moved by your content. Because when you're the person who can make people feel things instead of just consuming things, you are no longer an it as just another interchangeable face on the internet. You become a real person that they can actually start forming a psychological relationship with. See, I've thought deeply about this and how this relates to storytelling, and I've studied many storytelling experts, and I've tried to implement a lot of their tips. And I started to realize that I feel like a lot of people tell us to put our story into a format, a structure, like hook, problem, solution, payoff, problem, agitate, solution. See, the big problem that I see is that a lot of people tell stories, yes, but they're a bit disjointed. Like, it doesn't feel like there's one big theme to you. And so as we kind of go down this evolution of content strategy, and we know that storytelling is going to be a huge thing, what that means is that there's going to be a bunch of people trying to do storytelling, but not many people are going to spend the time to really create that world, create that signature feeling that they could only get from you. No one is really talking about how before one can even get into studying the formats or the structure of a story, we need to make it clear that there's actually different types of stories one needs to create. So I'm going to talk about two big ones that I've discovered in this video. The first is there are many stories you can use to help land a specific point you are making. This is really where those formats like problem, agitate, solution come in. So you're telling a story to help illustrate a point you are making. But the second story type is the overarching story of your content universe, your brand, almost as if you're creating a world for people to step into. If you want your mini stories not just feel like you're telling a story to tell a story, and thus feeling disjointed, one-off, and it doesn't really have that emotional effect, then really, I have thought about how the top storytellers all of the mini stories that they have, there is like a subtle tie, a subtle energetic linkage into the big overarching story. So essentially, it's creating a feeling for a viewer as they get to know you and be a part of your content universe. They get to unravel layers and layers to you. And people like unraveling layers and discovering new things, but they like feeling like they're unraveling layers to like a specific destination. So how do you start creating that big overarching story of your brand? What makes a world powerful enough that people want to step into it? We're going to take a look at a person who does this world building craft so well, and that is Taylor Swift. I don't think I need to give an introduction to how wildly successful she is as a brand. How did Taylor Swift create a world so many people want to get into? Number one, like I mentioned, she had a message, but number two, specifically, she had a message for the underserved or the unheard or the struggling. The purpose of a world, a universe, if we think about it, is to provide a home for someone, a place where someone can finally feel that they can live here. These are my people. So the best storytellers in terms of brand building, they understand this psychological phenomenon. They understand that telling a story isn't just for telling a story's sake because someone on the internet told them that storytelling is the way to get attention. They understand that stories are like a vehicle, a mechanism, like a tool. It is a tool used to help open the conversation around something that is unspoken, but secretly thought about, something that people are wanting to say, but couldn't find the words for. And the person who's able to beautifully put it into words, well, that is the person they're going to pay attention to. It makes that person worth following. This explains why, going back, people think that when they're trying to improve their storytelling skills, it's about figuring out the technicals. Like, what format do I need to put this in? Problem, agitate, solution, hook, climax, ending. Now, I'm not saying that format is not important at all. Obviously, there needs to be some level of like following a structure, but format by itself is actually easily replicable. It's not really that hard to fit stories into a format. You've probably done it, but that's the reason why it's falling flat. Instead, we need to ask ourselves this story, what is inside this story? Do people even care about it? With this story, have I shown that I understand something that is like bubbling up within them, that they are deeply struggling with, but they have not been able to express yet? And you just happen to unlock this emotion with them, this chaotic emotion within them, because you were able to tell a damn good story that helps them like just like, oh my gosh, resonate so hard. Because it's not the fact that you're telling the story to begin with, it is what is that story trying to transmit to the people? What is that message? So let's go back to Taylor Swift and see how this worked in action so you can see how you can start applying it to your content strategy. I spent some time really going through all of her different eras. Now, some people may come after me for this next statement that I'm about to make, but I am not really actually a fan of her beats. I don't know why. Like, it just doesn't, it's not my music taste. But I respect her so much as a businesswoman, as a woman, as an artist, as an entrepreneur. So, you know what? I guess I will make myself like her beats. Now, I already made the disclaimer that I have not been a hardcore Swiftie fan. So for my hardcore Swiftie fans, you're gonna need to cut me some slack. I may miss some details, but you have to bear with me and see the bigger picture of what I'm trying to say. If we were to take a step back and go through all of her different eras and also really analyze what she's personally going through, because again, this is gonna bleed into her song lyrics, and thus her mini stories, okay? Like the songs are the mini stories that are acting like little soldiers getting people into the big brand overarching message, by the ways. One message that she owns. If you're to take a step back, look at her brand as a whole, look at how all the stories connect. is that her message is you can reclaim your narrative. Now notice how, number one, she's got a message that this is clear to understand. It's not something that's like everywhere, right? And number two, it is a message for an underserved or unheard or struggling person who is feeling a lot of things, but they're not able to put it into words. So in this case, in Taylor Swift's case, who is this person? Is people who are dissatisfied and feeling unhappy because they feel like life is happening to them. They don't feel in control. And just by listening to someone, in this case Taylor Swift, who can put the words, this pain, this anger, this sadness, this frustration, and make it feel like empowering, but also make it feel like, okay, I'm feeling seen. Now, this is a person, this is a brand that you're gonna start having that psychological relationship with. Taylor has taught a lot of young women so much about how to carry themselves and hold on to their self-worth in the face of people who are always trying to write their narrative for them. So to give some examples, in her 1989 era, the most famous song of that era was Blank Space. So I don't get copyrighted, and for you to get on the same page as me, I will sing this song for you. It goes, but I've got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name. Okay, you get the point. But anyways, this is by far my most favorite example of hers of self-reclamation, which is her message. During this time, she saw the media making fun of her being some sort of man-eater, a seductress who tricks guys into falling for her and then thrives on the drama of the falling out, the publicity of it all, and then just like changes boys, like one changes t-shirt, writing the next one in her blank space. But instead of allowing the media to villainize her, she decided she's going to make fun of this gossip, making it sound like, OMG, this is ridiculous that you would think this, but let me show you how ridiculous you are. So she creates this song kind of mocking the media, like, oh, you say this is me? Oh, okay. I'll play this role better than you can imagine. Self-reclamation. Now, like I said, a message doesn't come to life just because of one story. It comes to life because so many of your mini stories continues this theme for you. So, to continue, in her Reputation era, one of the most famous songs of that era was Look at What You Made Me Do. So to again illustrate how Taylor Swift was able to take this mini story and put it into her big overarching brand, we got to understand what happened for this mini story to even come about. During this time, the most infamous internet takedown, cancellation, throwdown, it was between Taylor Swift, Kanye West, and Kim Kardashian. I'm going to give you the TLDR version, so keep up. Taylor Swift basically was in an argument with Kanye West over a song lyric he had in his song Famous. It basically went like, I feel like me and Taylor might still have why I made that famous. This was in regards to the 2009 MTV VMAs incident where 19-year-old Taylor Swift won Best Female Video for You Belong With Me, which led Kanye to somehow jump onto the stage to say that, well, Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time, essentially humiliating publicly Taylor Swift. This then became some sort of famous internet debacle that Kanye West took as him making Taylor Swift famous, and thus the lyric in his song Famous, Taylor responded to this lyric that he put in his song Famous, essentially like, no you didn't, then used this as an example during her Grammy speech to warn young women about people who try to undercut your success and take credit for your accomplishments or your fame. And this led Kim Kardashian to release edited snippets of a call on Snapchat between Taylor Swift and Kanye West that made it look like Taylor had lied and approved the lyrics being in Kanye's song, but again, this was an edited snipped down version, which obviously didn't include all the nuances. But see, the internet didn't see the full version, they saw the edited version. So this led the internet to go legit bonkers and flood this poor woman's Instagram account, the poor woman being Taylor Swift, with snake emojis calling her a calculating liar and manipulator who played the victim card to gain sympathy.
So fake.
Oh, there she goes.
Taylor Swift was essentially canceled and went into hiding for a year before coming back with her Reputation era again mini story with songs like "Look at what you made me do, look at what you made me do," and really where her self-reclamation message came to life. Instead of apologizing for a crime she did not commit, she decided to lean into it again to, oh, all of you guys, you want to call me a snake for defending my boundaries and my truth? Well, buckle up, babies, because I'm going to be the most powerful snake you've ever seen. Cue image of stage covered in snakes. What is the lesson of this mini story, which is the song? Again, leads back to her overarching message of self-reclamation. So I don't know about you, but as I'm explaining this, I'm like feeling this, I'm like getting fired up. Like these feelings of life being done to me, of people misunderstanding me, misjudging me, of me feeling like people don't know my real truth. Like this is a real pain and this is a real frustration for me too. So Taylor, I guess I've been sleeping on you. I understand now why your music has such a pull on people. But you see the power of a message rooted in an underlying feeling. And the best storytellers know that it's not about storytelling for storytelling's sake. It is, what is this story trying to say? Because depending on what it is trying to say, if you get that message, you get that lesson right on the money, that is what turns an average story into a powerful story. By the way, this video is sponsored by me. I'm currently running a limited time offer, my one-to-one high-touch personal intensive where I help you figure out your category of one positioning. The process works like this. Once you get your one-to-one intensive, you'll be directed to a questionnaire. On this questionnaire, you'll be able to brain dump everything that you're struggling with, everything you're juggling in your mind on what direction you should be going, where you think your competitive edge is. Then from there, you'll be directed to book a call with me. It is on this call where we're going to go even deeper into your world. I'm going to be excavating areas where I see potential and I'm going to be digging it out. Then after the call, I go into my brain cave. This is where I go into deep research into your niche so that I can find where can we connect what you want to bring to the world to what is reasonably something that you can actually own, that there's actually a gap in the marketplace for. You'll then receive a debrief from me with your next direction so that you can come out of the experience feeling more empowered via having strategical direction on your next steps. If you're interested, click the link down below. So now that you're like, got it, there's two types of stories, mini stories to help make a specific point, but there's also the big overarching message story of the brand. How do we start finding that? How do we start putting it all together? Remember at the start of this video, I talked about how if you want to improve your storytelling skills, you got to remember why you're storytelling to begin with. Recall the purpose of a story is for someone to feel moved by you, to feel things, or to start forming a psychological relationship with your content experience. Now, what has kept me stuck not being able to create stories that can really move people and make people feel something is because I have quite a lot of questionable thoughts in my head, such as I'm scared to tell my story because I don't want to be judged. My mind just starts popping up images of friends and family and then imagining what they would think or say if they actually watched my stuff. Or even worse, you see online internet culture and you see how reactive people can get, and so you're scared of people like completely canceling you or just going crazy on you because you shared a story that maybe they found offensive. And sometimes it could just simply be there are moments where you do want to share, you want to step into a role where you're teaching or sharing from a place of expertise. And then of course using stories to help with that, but the little voice inside your head who never believes in you and is always bringing you down is making you feel like an imposter. Like, how can I teach this when I don't feel like I am the world's world's ultimate success story, what gives me the right. So whatever thoughts that is holding you back from really stepping into that brand builder who can tell these amazing stories and captivate that audience, this is what you're gonna do, okay? You're gonna get all of those feelings, okay? Feels like crap? Yes. I want you to take those feelings and then I want you to go into the pantry. I want you to go into the pantry. Then I want you to get some salt. I want you to get that salt, sprinkle on top of this wound, get that wound, rub in more salt, and really dig that salt deep in there. I want that wound to feel like it's burning. I want you to feel so bad. If you're not on the floor crying, then get to that level. See, the best storytellers in the world understand what it's like to feel things. Keyword, feel. See, in the midst of all of us learning how to scientifically deconstruct and templatize what makes a good story, like problem, agitate, solution, hook, climax, ending, we have forgotten that the reason why people tell stories is because stories are needed because facts, tips, logic have not been enough. Stories is a way to tap into someone's emotional side of the brain so that it can finally click. But see, that's a problem. Like, how would you know how to tap into someone's emotional side of the brain when you're pretending like you're the Terminator?
I'll be back.
Stories do not move people because you followed a template and you perfectly placed it into this formula and you're sounding like ChatGPT's star child. Stories move people when listeners can feel the emotions that went into that story. The best storytellers like Taylor Swift are people who can translate something that is indescribable, like a feeling, into a language that people can understand. And that leads me to my next tip of where you gotta stop operating in your head, trying to formalize, study, templatize. Instead, we need to drop back down into our bodies and start getting ourselves to remember what it's like to actually feel things. We don't want to be scared to feel things. We need to throw ourselves fully into the feelings, allow it to fill every cell of our bodies, whether that be pain, suffering, happiness, joy, embarrassment, shame, sadness, depression. This is literally the starting point of when you can deliver that story in a way that's going to get people locked in. If you don't start at this place and you don't allow yourself to tap into this overwhelm with feelings, then you will never be able to translate it. And your story will always fall flat and feel cookie cutter. Like, I need you to step into character and get into the tortured artist state of mind. There's no beauty without pain, so get there. See, I understand. Sometimes we just want things handed to us on a silver platter. We want it easy. So we seek out the formulas, we seek out the equations where we can just fill in the blanks. You're dreaming of a situation essentially where you don't have to get down into the messy feels. You get to work with clean boxes and feel in control, feel logical. You want to stay in this sterile environment. You don't want to get down into the dirt. But that is not where the powerful stories are made. An artist's mind is filled with chaotic tornadoes and storm clouds because it's in this storm, in this rain, in this hurricane that gives the proper environment for the rainbow to come out. And that's why when we take a look at what goes on behind the scenes of some of the best storytellers in the world, before we even see the finished product, when we take a look at what's happening under the surface behind the closed doors, we see a tortured, messy, chaotic artist in their whirlwind process of crunching, feeling, marinating, creating, and breaking things, and making things like a mad freaking scientist. This leads me to the next thing that I've noticed that we're all told, but then like how come stories still don't come alive is that we're all told that great stories include details. So just include some details. So then you have people going like they're trying to make a point. Maybe they're trying to teach like you gotta reprogram your subconscious so you can manifest your dreams. So then they make this point by telling the story of like I looked up at the sky and the sky was blue and the clouds were very white. The clouds were very fluffy. They had fluffy edges and it was 12:01 in the afternoon. And that was when I realized that I needed to learn how to identity shift into the woman that is capable. It's like, what? How do those details relate to the feeling of the frustration of realizing that you need to identity shift? You get what I'm saying? Like, that is what I call fluff details. It's like, I understand you included some details there, but like, don't include details so you can include details because someone online told you that you need to include details. It's what you choose to be the detail that will bring the story to life. The detail is there to help you establish an emotion and get someone to feel something. The real challenge is actually choosing the right types of details, the types of details that you know will move people. So to kind of go back to Taylor Swift again, because master storyteller, she understands the power of details, but she doesn't use details to use details. She uses details to quickly get the listener to understand an emotion, to almost make the listener like zoop into a body that's feeling all of these emotions, trying to put something into words that didn't originally have a word. So let's take her song, You Belong With Me. When she says in her lyrics, but she wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts, she's cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers, dreaming about the day when you wake up and find that what you're looking for has been here the whole time. Okay, like I said, you get the point. These are not just random details. These are details trying to put into words this feeling of the pain of being so unseen, feeling so plain, so inadequate, and having this averageness literally just thrown in your face because the little opposite of you, the cheer captain who is the star, aka not the girl on the bleachers with the white t-shirt, she's a girl that always gets what she wants, including the guy, while the average girl, the underdog, is always left to just dream and quietly hope and be literally invisible. See, this is not a detail for a detail's sake. This detail helps someone quickly understand this very deep emotion of what invisible underdog feels like, but also compounded with this feeling of like also comparing yourself and feeling unhappy and like never feeling like you get the guy. There's a complex emotion here, and it's in these details that it helps us, the listener, step into that emotion. So after you stop operating only in your head and you embrace the need to feel and you're not scared to get tormented, and you then step into the tortured artist's state of mind and you accept the complexity and the chaos of this process of creating banger stories, you're leaning into it, you're like, yes, let me cook. The next thing is that it's time to now step into the story's character. I need you to play that role as if your life depends on it, as if you're gunning for an Oscar. A nomination doesn't count. I better see winner on your Wikipedia page. And believe it or not, this is not you being performative at all. Why? Because you're literally playing yourself, but at a previous time in your life. You're playing a version of you that you have locked away. But now you're letting the beast out. It's not about doing the story, it's about being the story. Now, some of you may be all like, I'm all for this. How do I find my story? How do I know what my story is? Because I don't. I'm confused on who I am and what I should own. Watch this video up next where I talk about the real way to step into your main character era.